when you see the Whirlwind in here, this is a card that's almost become extinct in Control Warrior. They will run Revenge for the late game potential of that card instead of running Whirlwind. And as far as the early game mana considerations are concerned, they don't really have a curve to think about. So the Revenge is just right up their alley. They don't care about the increased cost. But Grim Patron definitely cares about it, and cares about it a lot. I think this is Grim Patron versus Handlock, and if that's the case, they are in for a tough matchup.
Yeah. So the Grim Patron Handlock matchup, over time, players have started to put more favor towards the Warrior than they did at first. At first, people said, oh, the Handlock matchup is nearly impossible. How do we deal with AoE? How do we get through a wall? But over time, players have started to realize tricks and tactics that you can use to make sure that you get through, and efficient ways to play. Now, they say that Harrison, who was one of the players on Johns Hopkins, is a Grim Patron expert. But you have to be at the highest level of expertise in order to make this matchup even close to being even. Yeah. So it's tough. There's
a small window of opportunity for the Warrior deck. And that's part of the problem with why they're not able to find that tremendous win rate, is because they have to have all the right cards to make that happen as well.
And the right mindset.
Yes, and the right navigation for it. So right now their hand is kind of building to that point. I mean, they do have Emperor Thaurissan. They do have a minion on board right now. If they can get to a point where their minions are slightly damaged, they get a big Battle Rage off, they play the Emperor Thaurissan, that's really the kind of situation that can win in the game. The Emperor Thaurissan is going to alleviate a lot of the mana pressure in their hand.
Yep.
They're going to have way more options rolling into those turns. And that's where the big difference is made, is if they can get to that kind of turn. And with a Deathbite pickup, they're just getting closer and closer. Every single one of these cards is going to bring them to that point. But right away, Twilight Drake is going to put a stop to that potential for the Battle Rage on Armorsmith. And Johns Hopkins is already on a back foot.
Yeah. Oh, execute picked up, but you have to be really careful with how you expend those executes. A common tactic in Grim Patron versus Handlock is just, smacking that first threat with your weapon.
Yeah.
Saving the execute to when, you're going to push through damage, you're going to go for that lethal turn. So taking that, 12 damage from a Twilight Drake is well worth it when you consider it, because health is going to be your biggest resource.
Well, here they're not going to quite take 12. They will lose a card instead. But the big problem here, again, is that they don't have extra targets to just have, Battle Rage at this point. Acolyte Pain is a fantastic pickup. That actually might have been the best draw in the deck right now.
Yeah. Just cycling through cards, drawing closer to those Frothing Berserkers, Warsong Commanders, Grim Patrons even. Grim Patrons usually aren't, sometimes they're part of the win condition, but they're not the primary win condition.
Yeah. So they're going to go with Slam here, which tells me they want to also use this Deathbite, which is a little bit of a surprise. I mean, their hand is so well built to fight against it. They're actually going to run the risk on the Void Caller, which is often it's often a minion you don't see die straight away because of the risk that comes behind it. There's a second Deathbite, but there's a Doomguard also. And so now things are getting very interesting at this point because they're starting to put together a bigger and bigger hand. And Virginia actually doesn't have a way to add anything to the board on turn 5.
The Doomguard coming out from the Void Caller made it so that the Mountain Giant that they drew, they couldn't play. It would have been exactly 5 mana, which is what they had.
Which I'm curious if Johns Hopkins actually thought about that.
That's a really intricate read to make.
Because that's a play that I have not really considered much, is what the implications of that card leaving the hand. And they're actually going to leave the Acolyte of Pain up to. This is super dangerous.
Battle Rage
to be doing.
They're going to get a lot of mileage out of this sucker.
Yeah, I think Interrage here is totally reasonable. I actually don't even mind playing the Unstable Ghoul either. Like, just start cycling through your deck as much as you possibly can, get to a big Emperor Thaurissan turn, and then try to end the game as quickly as possible after that.
Yeah, you can Interrage, draw a card, Battle Rage, draw 2 cards, Deathbite down the Doomguard while also drawing a 4th card.
The other thing, too, you could do is you could actually just push 7 damage. And how does Virginia read that when you've drawn this many cards? Something else to think about is the implication of what your cards mean to your opponent.
Yeah.
Frothing Berserker gets picked up as well.
What's it going to be? No Machine Bender. Yeah, that's more cycle.
And there's the Warsong Commander.
Oh my goodness. And an Emperor Thaurissan is already in the hand for Johns Hopkins. It's time to start counting some damage.
Here's the thing, though. They got to fight against this Mountain Giant first. They have 2 turns to really make this happen. It is now or never. They are slamming this Emperor Thaurissan down. They're not. They're going to wait even. Wow.
Well, they're slamming.
I thought for sure Emperor Thaurissan was hitting the table.
It looks like
they want a Whirlwind too, though.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to execute here and just try and set up an even better hand for Emperor Thaurissan, which they're going to get another draw next turn out of it. So
here's the thing. That window of opportunity, I was just about to talk about it. Every single card draw slowly starts to close that window as well.
Yeah.
Executes on targets defensively is not how this deck wants to play in this matchup. It wants to be using them to push through taunts or ideally not have to use them at all.
Yeah.
So now Virginia has found some of the tools they can have to fight through this. And at 24, with John Hopkins on 8 mana, I think they feel comfortable with this position. So it's a matter of how they get through this.
Is it going to be enough, though? This is going to be a big Emperor. There's going to be a lot of options opened up. 2 Whirlwind effects.
That's a second Frothing Berserker as well.
Oh, my goodness. I think that Virginia is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, they get to even add the Armor Smith behind this as well. Like, it's just more stuff on the board. And the more stuff you have on the board, the bigger the Frothing Berserkers get.
Yeah.
And just the extra little bits of damage you have to push through this.
Sometimes you only need 1 Frothing Berserker. You can use 1 to get through a big target.
Yeah.
And then the other hits the face, and Handlock has already taken some damage. So sometimes all you need is 20.
So they're not going to add the Armor Smith. They are just going to go with Emperor Thaurissan. I think they want this damage potential to be hidden from their opponent as well.
Wow. So with 9 mana next turn, Unstable Ghoul, Frothing, Warsong Commander, second Frothing, and Armor Smith can be played. Or, I mean, you could play any of those 2 mana creatures. You could play the second Warsong Commander. You could play an Acolyte of Pain. That's 3.
I think this is enough.
That's
honestly.
2 Whirlwind effects on 2 Frothing Berserkers.
Because not only that, but Virginia's looking at this board and they're going, gosh, we have to kill that Emperor Thaurissan, right?
You can't leave that guy alive. And what do they have to do? They can't play Milganis. They don't have a Void Caller. He's 1 mana away from just being able to play.
It's Defender of Argus, really. It's about the only play.
You can play Defender of Argus?
I guess you get Shadow Flame. They're going to dig with the Mortal Coil. That's going to be their priority here. So this isn't to say Defender of Argus isn't happening, but they want the extra cards. They're desperately looking for an answer to this.
Oh, yeah. I think, you know what? I think this one's pretty much in the bag for Johns Hopkins.
And this is exactly how this deck had to rotate. It had to draw tons of cards, have the Emperor Thaurissan, and the right combination. But when you draw that many cards, you're going to find it pretty darn often.
All right, well, here we go. They got to go. These animations take a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot where if, you know, you may not have it, but this is the only opportunity.
That you're
this
gonna
is
have.
it. Yeah. It's now or never. And honestly, 20 life, I mean, it's so easy for one of these Frothing Berserkers.
And you know what? Armor Smith, they think twice about the Armor Smith and realize, you know what? Cruel Taskmaster does more damage. Also, Armor Smith adds a considerable amount of time to the animation length because every single animation has to go through a Frothing Berserker tick and an Armor Smith tick. So,
yeah, they've done the math on this one, I think. Picture perfectly.
Yeah.
Swing with that Despite. That's going to set that to 1.
Yeah, they have. Oh, they're going to... I think they only needed 1 Frothing Berserker.
They did this absolutely perfectly. Look at that celebration.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of animations here, but this one is over, folks. I'm curious if actually 1 Frothing Berserker was enough to do it, because this turn was actually played perfectly. They dealt the exact amount of damage they needed to these minions. They dealt the... Oh, I'm sorry. They did overkill it by a little bit. But that those Frothing Berserkers are plenty.
1 would have been enough. They could have slammed 1 in. I mean, that's a 23 damage on both of those. Both of those guys. Actually, even more because you have to factor in. So I think that what was that 25 damage for both of these guys?
And that's something that, and that's the threat of this Grim Patron deck. This is why you see competitive players play this at the highest levels, because it created a strategy that involved dealing 20+ damage in a single turn without having any presence on the board.
Yeah.
What it does require you to do is draw lots of cards, be very patient, and use your resources in a picture-perfect way. And Johns Hopkins, honestly, they executed this game with precision.
Yes, they did, and they're going to be rewarded with a 2-0 or a 2-0 start to their season, which, as we talked about, gets them halfway to the win count that they need to move it on the playoff stage. 4 wins is that magic number.
Yep, and again, halfway there, it's got to be feeling good at this point. That's something I've always felt like when I was playing competitive cards was when you went 2-0 in a tournament or you started 2-0,
Yeah.
you really kind of took a look at it and went, you know what, I could actually win this thing.
I could win the whole thing.
Yeah.